This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Monday, September 8th, 2008, and this is episode 459 of Walt Disney World Today. I'm Matt Hodgeberg of StudioCentral.com. On the show today, we have Mike Scopa of AllEars.net, a blogger over there. Welcome, Mike.
Actually, I came to see Einstein. Wow, you're getting clobbered.
Oh, that would be Bill Nye in
Universe of Energy.
Stupid Judy.
Correct.
Very good. And also joining us today is Len Testa, co-author of the Unofficial Guide to Walt Disney World. And Len, let's see, Tom Brady out, Steelers win. Is it time to predict a championship for the Steelers?
All I'm saying is it's looking really good for Pittsburgh right now. Although I hate to see Brady go down like that, and by like that I mean not at the hands of the Steelers, but it's at the hands of some other team. Not really. I don't see anyone get injured. I'd rather have a.
Well, Len, I'm gonna ask you for some assistance in this next introduction because I'm not sure how you pronounce this name. Let me look. Mick Moule.
Sounds like
Moule Mike. Is that his name?
Newelly.
I think it's French.
What are you, All-Star Sports? Yeah.
It's Mike Newell of Mouse Roll Radio. Welcome back, Mike.
You know, I did a live show while I was on vacation. I can't get a break. I do more work here than I do at work.
Well, that's the way we like it.
Do you really want to keep saying that?
Well, yeah, no, I take that back. I better edit that out.
I take that back. I do far. In fact, I'm even thinking about real work right now.
On today's show, we're going to be talking about first-timers' guide to rental cars. Now, a lot of people who listen to the show often will hear us really talk up the benefits of renting a car. And I know that many of our listeners are veterans of Disney's Magical Express, of taking taxi cabs, of car services. And I think a lot of people always consider or flirt with the idea of having a rental car. We thought we'd offer this kind of as a first-timer's guide to renting a car. So let's talk about if you've decided to rent a car. First thing you're going to want to do is before you even pick up the car is you have to decide on a couple of different options. One of them is insurance. And this one comes to mind because I know that we have some different views on it between the four of us. I'm going to start with Newell. Now, Newell, Mike, you take all the insurance that they offer you, right?
I only take the LDW, the loss damage waiver, mainly because when I rent a car, I don't have a credit card because I got out of debt, so I canceled all my credit cards, but I use my debit card, and the debit card doesn't usually cover that.
Okay.
So it's easier for me to pay for it up front. It is pricey. I mean, I just got back from 10 days in Orlando, and I paid $21.99 a day. So, I do get beat up on it, I had a car parked at Downtown Disney that got broken into, and it's not me that I worry about. It's the other people that drive and the other, what could happen to my car while I'm in the Magic Kingdom parking lot? Someone going to break into it? This way I bring it back. They told me if I get it, when I first got it, they said, all you have to do is bring back the steering wheel and you're covered. So I look at it that way.
Steering wheel?
Yeah, exactly. I look at it that way. I just bring it back. If there's a scratch, if there's this, if there's that, I don't have to fill out paperwork. I don't have to call my insurance. I don't have to do any of that stuff.
Okay.
So that's the reason why I get it.
So, Len, when you book a car, do you decline insurance or do you also take insurance?
I decline everything.
Yeah, that's what I do too. Now, Len, do you decline everything because your insurance covers it, or does your credit card also cover it?
So my insurance has primary coverage. My credit card has secondary coverage on it because of the rewards benefits that I have on my card. But even then, statistically, the odds are that you're not going to use it. So I would play the odds.
You're absolutely right. I've been renting cars down there for 15 years, and I've never had to make a claim. However, I sleep better.
Yeah.
Because I don't have that secondary coverage. I'm going down there with no coverage. So that's out of pocket, and not only they get you for the repairs, but
because the credit card,
they get you for the times that they cannot rent it.
Yeah,
and I'm not defending it. I don't like paying it. It's not something I look forward to. I'm going to pay.
You just don't want to. You're paying a little bit of money to avoid a big
lot
catastrophe.
of money, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, one of the things you have to look at definitely is if you're considering renting a car is, first of all, what your regular auto insurance, if you have auto insurance, covers. Does it cover car rentals? How much does it cover? Yep. And second of all, you want to look at the credit card or the form of payment you're using. If you are using a credit card, some credit cards do offer coverage. Now, the ones that I've run into usually will say, we'll cover whatever your primary insurance does not cover. which usually most primary insurances cover most of it, so the credit cards kind of get out of it, even though by saying that they will cover you. So you have to look into those little fine details over there and evaluate that, and that's going to be on a per person basis. It's hard to really generalize. Some people Len and I, we, to say, I think we roll the dice. I think that's the way to say it, and we have the insurance, and that's how it goes. And Mike, obviously, like you said, it's about sleeping better at night about it. So that's something you have. That's one element of it in terms of insurance that you're going to want to definitely look at. Now, once you get the car, there's two different options. One is you're going to pick up the rental car on the airport property, or another one is to take a short bus ride off property to pick up the bus. Len, what are your thoughts on the on airport property rental cars versus off property airport rental cars? Is there enough of a difference to make you sway between one or the other?
So interestingly, Orlando is unlike most other cities in the United States in that the airport car rental places generally have the least expensive rates in the area. If you go to Las Vegas, it's completely the opposite. That the airport places are the most expensive and the off airport places are the least expensive.
Really?
In Orlando, it's the opposite. That you can always find the best deals, even with tax, most of the year on the airport property. So those are places like Alamo and Avis and Hertz and Dollar and Budget. And I'm sure there's a few more. Yeah, it's odd. So on-site property. Plus, it's way more convenient to return because there's one less shuttle bus you have to be on.
Yeah.
And I know you're on shuttle buses in Disney World all the time, but by the time you get back to the airport, you just want to be able to walk somewhere. Walk into the airport and go.
Yeah, there is definitely a convenience factor to be had, because what you're doing if you're renting a car from an on-site airport car rental, rather, you're going down to level 1 on either the A or B side, and you're going to go to one of the counters over there to one of the companies, and you'll check in, quote unquote. Depending, some people, unless you're one of those like super members where you can actually bypass that counter and go straight. Once you're
budget, right? Budget, you can bypass that. Yeah,
and dollar too. Yeah.
Yeah. So once you go down to level 1, you either go to the counter if you need to. Otherwise, once you're done with the counter, or if you don't need to go to the counter, you're going to walk across to the parking garage where the rental car companies that are on airport property keep their cars. And at that point over there, you'll be able to pick up your car and literally drive from there. If you're renting a car that's off property, I know Enterprise and Hertz are off. As well as there's also Payless and Advantage. I have never used those two companies. I'm kind of weary about them.
Yeah, they don't get great ratings in the unofficial guide. So
yeah,
Thrifty also uses the shuttle.
Oh, do they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I know the Enterprise shuttle. I've seen the Enterprise shuttle because I'm always waiting for the shuttle to bring me back to my car, which I've parked off property. But the Enterprise shuttle seems to be they always have a car there, shuttle there rather. So for those looking for that, I mean, at least the worst thing I can imagine is just waiting for the shuttle. That's got to be never mind you have to go drive out to the place. But certainly something to keep in mind to you. And again, I think Scopa, you brought this up a couple times, is your time is money. And for some people, they don't mind taking an extra 10 minutes to go get the car because it doesn't take that long. And most of the places are right off Summerlin Boulevard over there, and it takes probably more time to get off the airport, out of there, rather than actually driving to the place because they are very close to the airport.
But the thing is, Matt, you talk about convenience. The convenience not just from, arriving in Orlando and being able to pick up a car and rather than have to take a shuttle and worry about your luggage and everything, but also on the return trip when you're flying home, you want to be able to spend as much time, at Disney World as possible. And if you know that you have to worry about, okay, I have to drop the car off at a place and I have to take a shuttle and I have to deal with my luggage.
It's all too much. Yeah.
That's a pain. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, we should mention if you are renting a car and you are a veteran of Disney Magical Express, before you get your rental car, you need to go get your luggage from level 2 of the airport. So you'll get your luggage first, then you'll go down to level 1 to get your car, obviously, because you're not having someone deliver it for you. Now, once you're leaving the airport, there's a couple things you want to probably keep in mind. First, how do you get to Walt Disney World? There's 2 major thoroughways. Both are toll roads to get there. One's going to be State Road 528. The other's going to be Interstate 417. And both are toll roads. Both have 2 toll plazas. 417 is easier to drive on because it's direct. You're going to take 417 to literally an exit that says Walt Disney World. You get off the highway over there, and it's a very short drive to Walt Disney World property. 528 is there's a lot of construction going on over there, so it's kind of a little more difficult to navigate. Although it can be a little bit faster. It's like 528 to I-4, and then 4 has no tolls, and you just drive right to Walt Disney World. It's fairly simple for both. Have you guys had any experience with one? Do you prefer one or the other?
417.
417. Yeah, it's far easier. So the interesting thing is when you're coming, depending on what terminal you're coming into or what terminal you're departing out of, getting the Disney World exit might require you to cut across a lane of traffic. You know, where you're coming out of the rental car place, and you sometimes you have to cut across a couple. So you got to watch that. That's usually the first place that you really have to watch out, because you're still trying to get used to driving the rental car, and all of a sudden you've got to cut across 3 lanes of traffic to your right. Yeah. To get to that exit. But once you do that, then the only other interesting thing that you have is you come off the airport property. You've got to again cut across 3 lanes of traffic to your right to make the right onto 417.
Yeah,
that's everyday traffic in New York. That's nothing.
Yeah. It's nothing.
It's not. It's not for me. The other interesting thing is when you're driving, make sure you have at least $2 bills and 2 or 3 quarters.
Yeah, there's like I mentioned, there's 2 toll plazas each way. You're going from the airport to Disney World or Disney World to the airport. So you'll need to keep change on you, because while there's always someone manned in the highway toll plazas, the ones that are in the middle of the highway, when you get off the highway, there are some exits that do not have a person there. I know, for instance, the one on 417 to Celebration, that is an unmanned toll plaza. Yes. That's just the only way. There's 2 lanes. One is for the Easy Pass lane, and the other is for the exact change lane. If you don't have exact change or an Easy Pass, I don't know what you do at that point. I mean, you either flag someone down like Len has done. Len, you did that in the past, right?
I've actually been flagged down.
Oh, you've been the flagger.
People have walked back to me and asked for money, which is really odd.
Yeah,
because at 4:00 in the morning.
Yeah, it's $100 and I think it's $100 or $125 fine if you run the toll. So I mean, some people I don't know what happens. So anyway, you want to keep definitely some quarters with you. Probably about $2, I would say, each way is playing it safe over there. The other thing is, just a tip, if you're coming from the airport and you're trying to figure out which road is quicker, if you're coming from the A side, it's actually faster to take 528, and if you're coming on the B side, 417 is faster. Although, your preference for the highways, that aside, the way that they're situated, it's easier to get on those roads from those particular terminals, the way the airport's situated. It's just kind of a tip there. Now, one other tip that I thought, speaking of the highway, something that I did before I even moved down there, and Newell, I think you've jumped on the bandwagon, is you've gotten Easy Pass?
Not yet, no.
Not yet, okay.
No,
well,
I'm one of those, oh yeah, I'm going to do it, and yeah.
Yeah, I think anyone who rents a car a couple times, I think you should definitely look into getting an Easy Pass for you. You can pick them up. You can actually order them online. I'll put a link in the show notes to the phone number where that you can call them up. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be a Florida resident. I did it when I was living in Connecticut.
Yeah.
The unit itself costs $25, and then you just have to required to put on whatever money to store on there. You can also pick them up at Publix or CVS's in Florida over here. So you just go to any of them and they have them. You just buy one. You call the number to activate it, and it'll be activated. What it provides you is a great deal of convenience factor for you, because you can breeze through all those tolls. And during certain times of the day, especially in the daytime, in the afternoon, 417 not so much, but in 528, there's going to be a longer line for those tolls to get through the ones where you have to pay. And it's just, again, it's more time. So for me, I think it's something that you definitely want to look into, especially if you have any inkling of renting a car, probably more than 2 times, I would say. And again, it doesn't go bad. These things don't expire. The units will always be there for you. So it's it's an option for you guys.
You can get them online too. I'm on the SunPass site right now, and you can buy it online and have it shipped to the house, which I think I'm going to do tonight.
Now, the other thing we want to also mention is you don't actually have to pick up the car at Walt Disney World. Excuse me, I jumped the gun there. You don't have to pick up the car at the airport. You can actually pick up the car at Walt Disney World. Len or Scope, does someone want to talk about picking up the car at the Car Care Center?
Yes, you can pick the car up at the Car Care Center.
Hey, I knew he was...
Yeah, the Magic Kingdom. I guess the question is how you get to the Car Care Center, which is right near the Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, Enterprise is one of the companies that's there, right?
Yeah, and they will come and pick you up, from what I understand.
That's kind of their slogan. They'll come and literally they will come pick you up from your resort and get you the car. And this gives you the advantage of being able to use Disney's Magical Express to avoid tolls and all that, get on property, but then have the convenience of a car. And you can also drop it off back at the car care center. The disadvantage, the only problem with Enterprise is you can't do one-way rentals. You can't pick it up at the car care center and then say, you know what, I'm going to bring it back to the airport because I don't. You have to go bring it back there. But Alamo is another company that does it from the car care center, and I believe they do one-way rentals where you can drop it off at a different location.
You said do.
Hey, I've been thinking about doing this. I have a free rental day that my car rental company has given me, but I cannot use that free day with a coupon. So I've thought about renting a car from the airport and dropping it off at Car Care Central, and then picking up another one and using another coupon or another free day that I have to do that. I don't know if that can be done, but that's one thing that I'm looking into, just to lessen the cost of a rental car.
Yeah, I mean that would definitely work for you, I think, Mike. I think the only issue is that you're just going to waste time. I mean, there's time involved. That's all.
Well, it may mean maybe a half an hour of my time, but if it saves me $30 to $50, it might be worth it.
Okay, fair enough.
That's funny.
Now, Len, do you want to talk about parking tips at Walt Disney World? For those people who have never rented a car or never driven before in Walt Disney World, when you park the car, I mean, there's a couple things you want to keep in mind. First of all, there are parking fees for people who are coming to the parks who are not staying on Disney World property
right,
or not an annual pass holder.
So that's an additional $12 a day, and you might as well factor into that into the cost of your hotel. Because if you're staying in a Disney property, it's free. So $12. Thankfully, they don't charge tax on top of the $12, so it's just flat $12 there.
Right.
But that's it's definitely something that you want to consider if you're
staying off property.
Staying off property, and you're just under the cost of, say, a Disney Value Resort. Something to look into there.
Yeah. You can. Obviously, if you are staying at Disney World property, when you check into your resort, they'll ask you, or they should ask you rather, if you have a rental car, at which time you can say, or you have a car, and they'll say yes, and then they'll give you a little piece of paper to put on your front of your car, and you can put that right there, and that'll get you right in without. I mean, you'll drive up to the toll plaza at any of the parks, and basically just point to it, and they'll wave you right on through.
Yep.
Is there anything that any of you guys can think of in terms of that we should mention for any of the parks in terms of parking?
In terms of parking, if you're staying at a Disney resort, I think we say this all the time. It's better to take Disney transportation in the Magic Kingdom than to drive yourself, because you got to take the monorail or the ferry across after that.
Yeah. I mean that's a good point, Len. I think that why don't you quickly explain? I mean, what's involved if you drive to the Magic Kingdom versus if you take the bus to the Magic Kingdom?
So if you drive to the Magic Kingdom, you have to go through the parking booths. You have to drive through most of the parking lot, get directed to a parking space, get out of the car, walk to a tram, take the tram to the TTC. From the TTC, decide whether you're going to take the monorail or the ferry. Wait in line to get on those, get in those, take the ride across the Seven Seas Lagoon, and then end up at the Magic Kingdom. Whereas if you're at a Disney resort, you walk outside your hotel to the bus stop, you get on the bus, they drop you off in the front of the Magic Kingdom, and you're done. It's a lot less hassle. I think it saves about half an hour of transportation time.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned we did the 4 parks in one day. Scopa, Newell, and I drove ourselves, actually, and this was the kind of a freak occurrence, because we drove ourselves. This is very late at night, so we were able to pull up to the very first spot, really, in the parking lot, and we were able to beat Len, who was taking the Saratoga Springs bus. But of course, Saratoga Springs is notorious for bad bus service, so take it as you will. But generally speaking, I do wholeheartedly agree with you, Len. In that case, you definitely want to consider taking a bus if you're going to the Magic Kingdom. Let me ask you guys something else. How much is the increase in gas factored into your decision to rent a car or not?
It's only a few dollars. I mean, even if you drive a couple 100 miles, I mean, and you're not going to do that in a week. Even if you drive 20 or 25 miles a day, 140, 160 miles, what is that? 5-8 gallons of gas?
Right.
$20, $35, something like that.
Yeah, it depends upon the car that you get, too. I mean, if you get a really good car that's good on gas, it's really not that much of a big deal, really.
Yeah.
I usually get an economy car. I usually get the smallest car I can get.
Yeah. For the economy, absolutely. Mike, let me ask you, Newell, you were just there for 10 days?
Yeah, 10 days.
Yeah. Now, I know you rented a car. Did you have to fill up the car before you returned it, or did you, the one tank of gas you got when you picked up the car, that lasted you throughout the 10 days?
Well, I prepaid for the gas before I left.
Dude, is word sucker on your forehead?
All right.
Jeez.
Could you let me finish?
Okay, go ahead.
Normally, when I take that 7 a.m. flight and I'm driving to the airport at 5 or quarter to 5, the last thing I want to do is drive around looking for a gas station. Now, Dollar has a thing where you have to if you don't pay for the gas, you have to give them the receipt from the gas station where you purchase the gas, and it's got to be outside of a 10-mile radius of the airport. So that means.
But I'm a Dollar member, and they don't. They don't really check the 10-mile radius that closely. The fact is they could, and then they charge you a full tank anyway. So they could, and then you could never rent from them again.
Well,
that's
absolutely.
That's how I would position this.
They could, and I can go on a webcast and say not so nice things about them. But
I've never heard that policy. Is that new, or has that always been?
No,
the
they've been doing it for a while. Yeah.
Wow, I've rented from a number of companies, Budget, Avis, a lot of them. They never do that.
Not for nothing. They charge me $3.51 a gallon. Okay, I'm paying over $4 and change here. I'm paying $4.07. So $3.51 prepay is a pretty good bargain.
Well, no. Here's the problem with the prepay, though. They'll charge you $3.51, which sounds like a good price, and it is. The problem is, let's say you bring the car back with half a tank of gas.
Right. No,
they'll still charge you for the full tank of gas.
You're paying for the full tank, whether you only use 1 gallon of gas or you bring it back on fumes. That is true.
Yeah, so the only way it really works to your advantage is if you bring it back on fumes.
Right. 9 times out of 10, it's way under the quarter mark. So I'm usually getting, I'm not losing really. I mean, I am losing, but I'm not. Depends on how you look at it. Again, it's convenience. So I'll pay the extra for a little convenience because at quarter to 5 in the morning, I'm not looking for a gas station that's open.
Let's go. But
there is that one gas station though when you're coming back. When you're coming back to the hotel, going back to the airport, instead of making the left.
Oh yeah, Bonnet Creek.
Yeah, you make the right, and there's like a little Circle K or something about 3 miles down the road.
Okay. Scope, but when you rent, do you fill it up yourself or do you do the prepay thing?
I fill it up myself on the let me see, was it the marathon trip or the May trip? I forget which one. I think it was the May trip. I actually had a flight going out at 6:30, so I gassed up the night before, and I topped it off, so I had no problem. And I rent from National Car, and I've never had a problem with them questioning, how much gas I have because I usually fill it up, and it's pretty good.
That's what's convenient. I used to do that too before I started prepaying. I would top it off as much as I can, and since it's only 20 miles to get to, you don't even notice a difference in the
if you fill it up even on Disney World proper, if you go to one of the Hesses on Disney World proper and you fill it up all the way and you top it off a little bit, you could drive to the airport and it'll still show up as full when you get to the airport. I mean,
I don't know about.
I did that.
I've done it before.
I had
I've done it, but I think I'd rather make that right off that toll road. And
okay, fair enough.
I had an 18-passenger van one time, and I kept topping it off till it was spilling out of the side. And I did
cigarette.
that exactly, blow up the whole place. And I drove back, and not a problem.
Yeah, you definitely want to. That's an option for you to keep in mind. Certainly when you're where you're going to fill up the car, and anything else that comes to mind when we're talking about rental cars that you want to emphasize for people who are renting cars for the first time?
With all the different cars there, with all the different companies there, Matt, I think it's good for everybody to really look into what what the policies are for each company, and if there are certain I don't know what you'd call them, certain qualities or certain perks that one company may have over another that really appeals to someone. There may be someone out there who likes the idea of bypassing the counter. There may be someone out there who likes the idea of choosing their car rather than have the company choose it for them. So I think that everybody needs to be very thorough when they think about that very first time that they rent a car, so that they make the most of it.
Yeah, it's a good point you bring up, Mike, because one of the things you mentioned was the ability to bypass the counter. Every single of the major companies, with the exception of Hertz, offers, I believe, a club or something that you can join for free, even if you've never rented before, that will allow you to bypass the counter. And what you do is you basically you get down to the rental car area, you bypass the counter, you go straight to your car, and there's a car already assigned waiting for you. Hertz, I know, costs a little bit extra. Unless I know American Express card members or Platinum members, I think, get it for free. But that's something else you can keep in mind. So definitely, hopefully that will answer some of the questions. Definitely check out those options for you. Well, that's it for us today. If you want to find our older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the WDW Today website at wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Silva, and Mike Newell, I am Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show.
This has been a production of Mouse World Radio.